Now, a year ago today, the Taliban entered Kabul, taking control of Afghanistan in a lightning move that shocked and surprised the world. As insecurity deepens here in Nigeria, what parallels can we draw between Afghanistan and Nigeria after years of conflict with persistent militants and insurgents in the north of the country? With the governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, warning that terror groups may have taken over parts of the state, how bad could things really get as pitched battles continue between the authorities and armed groups? And the governor suggests that the federal authorities are treating insurgents and criminal gangs with kid gloves. Well, the veteran journalist, media consultant, and leadership newspaper columnist Wole Olaoye has written an article assessing the growing influence of militant groups like Ansaru, who he says appear to be slowly but steadily creating what he calls Ansarustan inside sovereign Nigeria. And Mr. Olaoye joins me now in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. And you coined, as I mentioned there, a new word in that most illuminating column of yours that appeared in the leadership newspaper, where you were comparing the lightning move by the Taliban a year ago in which they overran Afghanistan with what appears to be the growing influence of terror groups in parts of Nigeria. You called it Journey to Ansarustan. Explain what you mean.
Yeah, what I mean, thanks for having me. What I mean is that there is some kind of parallel you can see between how legitimate governments look down on terror groups to such an extent that the terror groups begin to inch their way to relevance, gaining territory, governing spaces, acquiring armaments that compare favorably with those of the legitimate government. And before you know it, they become the legitimate government. That's the story of Afghanistan. It took 20 years, but it happened. And if it could happen in 20 years in Afghanistan with America on the other end, if you can defeat the world power, the number one world power, over 20 years, we should not joke with what we're having in Nigeria.
So, based on your research, because I mean the main thing is territory being ceded to these people. Can you incontrovertibly say that Kaduna State is ceding territory to terror groups and criminal gangs?
Well, I have the testimony of the governor of Kaduna State.
You couldn't get better than that, could you?
You can't get better than that in Nigeria. He who wears the shoe knows where it pinches. And this governor has been warning us. I say us because I want to be very clear about this. Humanity affects all of us. So people should not think that, oh, it's far away in Kaduna, it's far away in Zamfara, it's far away somewhere else. As long as it's within this country, we are all in trouble.
Well, actually, Kaduna is not that far from the
Kaduna is not, it's when there's problem you will know Kaduna is not far at all. And it affects all of us. The governor himself has come out to say, these guys are controlling territory. The governor of Niger had done that before. He had told us they were controlling territory. Somehow, it's interesting. Somehow, everybody seems to know where they are in the various states all over the country. But nobody seems ready to challenge them.
That's a very good point. And in that regard, what I found very interesting about your article was the part of the where you were talking about the likes of Ansaru, who are now protecting those places from the violent attacks of other armed groups.
Yes.
So they're actually playing the role that the government should play in those places. They've become the de facto defenders of that region.
Yes. And
for the local people.
Yes. So those who are far away or who have not taken time to study the problem, you can start blaming the locals. No. The locals are buffeted between Ansarul on one hand, bandits on the other.
And they just want protection.
And Ansarul provides that protection. And that's what the governor is saying, that, look, these guys are becoming the legitimate government.
And of course, when they provide that protection, that is fertile ground for them to spread their ideology.
Beautiful. It's fertile ground, and they actually do spread their ideology by, indoctrinating young people, marrying the young girls, producing new potential terrorists. And so you can see they are not in this for the short run. They are in it for the long haul, actually. And unless you sit back to wonder why they are taking, all their steps are measured, and you look down on them at your own peril.
And of course, many of these groups have affiliations with bigger international terror organizations, and therefore draw inspiration as well as training, weaponry, and all of that from those groups. I mean, like Al-Qaeda or Islamic State and all the rest of it. Is that why those groups are growing in strength, or is there another reason?
That's one of the reasons why they are going in. The other reason, of course, is the fact that we've not treated them with the virulence with which you would expect a government, to face up to this challenge. They have international support, there's no doubt about that. But we can't just sit back and continue saying, there are some terrorists from Libya, from Mali. That's why we're a country, for heaven's sake. If these challenges are there, if we had, dealt with this problem squarely when it started, it wouldn't have gotten to this stage. But it's not too late. Because what affects one part of the country, as I said earlier, affects all of us. Martin Niemöller, the German theologian, you remember his famous, the anti-Nazi guy, who said when they came for the communists, I said nothing because I'm not a communist. But then they came for the socialists, I said nothing because I'm not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, I said nothing because I'm not a trade unionist. And eventually, when they came for me, there was nobody to speak for me.
Absolutely.
So all of us should speak out now.
I think what's particularly worrying as well is that what you also mentioned, that the lines are increasingly blurring between the kidnappers with their sophisticated weapons, the insurgents, the terrorists, and they're all melding into this big mass movement that are affiliating with each other and becoming stronger.
It works like a duck. As far as I'm concerned, it's a duck. What's the definition of terrorism? We try to make some nice, semantics about distinctions between terrorists and bandits and, armed robber and whatever. If somebody deprives, his own life mission is to deprive other people of their freedom, and he's collecting space, because kidnappers too those we call kidnappers are controlling space, bandits are controlling space, terrorists are controlling space, Boko Haram is controlling space, and Ansarul is controlling space. There is no distinction anymore. As our soldiers and our policemen and other security people would testify, because they both generally decimate the ranks of our security forces. Well,
on that very depressing note, I have to say, Wole, your article is brilliant, and if anybody wants to read it, let them go to the Leadership newspaper. Wole Olaoye is a columnist for Leadership newspaper, as well as a veteran journalist and media consultant. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure, Charles.
That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Bye-bye, and thank you.